To start the season, the Golden State Warriors were absolutely terrible. Steph didn't quite look the same. He had no second star. The depth was overrated. Overall, the dynasty had never looked more dead.
And then Jimmy Butler arrived.
Today is the third time we've talked about the Golden State Warriors on this show. The first episode we've ever done in Project 94 history was titled How the Warriors Went from Dynasty to Disaster. And in that episode, we talked about how for the first 25 games of this season, they were outright terrible. It was a big problem.
Good. It was not very good.
No. We were worried for Steph Curry that he had such little help. The team was so dire. We were like, how can they get themselves out of this hole? And in that video, we suggested trade for Jimmy Butler. We were pretty much for it. We were like, you got to make something happen or else you're just going to waste a year of this guy, maybe more. Yeah. It was not looking pretty.
It's so funny. The alternative to trading for Jimmy Butler is just like, take the swing, dude. Like, what are we going to stand around while we're winning fucking 30 games anyways? But yeah they did end up trading for Jimmy, and it went pretty well.
Exactly. The second video we made on this channel about the Warriors was post Jimmy Butler when we reacted to the trade. I was pretty excited for them. I like the fit a lot. I was saying, I've been wanting this all year. This answers a lot of the questions I had about them. I wouldn't even say questions. This fixes a lot of the issues that weren't even questions. They were just fucking horrendous weaknesses. I had a good feeling this would make them a lot better. You had a little bit of questions, but you were like, prove it to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Compared to you, I was probably fucking raining on everybody's parade, I assume. But hey, I was wrong. I was a little apprehensive, and for reasons that we'll get into in this video, my apprehensions were completely unfounded. And so now,
I wouldn't even say you were like anti it. You were just like, prove it to me. Like, show me. I'm not gonna get too excited until you see it because you were so beaten down after how bad they were. And I think they've shown
with
everybody.
How Jimmy Butler looked in Miami, I was like, I haven't seen this guy in a couple weeks. Could we maybe get a few games in? But we have now, and he's been sick.
Well, as of today, we're here, like I said, to make the third video about the Golden State Warriors. This time they get a whole episode that is the complete opposite of that first one. They have gone from disaster to pretty damn good. To put it lightly, they are 14-1 with Jimmy Butler playing 14-2 total since they acquired him. One game he didn't play. They're fifth in offensive rating, second in defensive rating, and second in net rating during that time. They just acquired Jimmy Butler. They got better. We all knew that. But I don't think we realized they got so much better where they just would not lose ever. 14-1 is a ridiculous start to this era. We got to talk about all the ways in which Jimmy Butler has completely transformed this team.
Yeah, I mean it truly is a complete turnaround. Like if you go watch just the body language of this team in like December, it was like, dude, they're gonna dissolve the franchise. Nobody wants to be here anymore. Draymond's fucking angry as shit. Steph has to dribble more than he ever has. Nobody knows what they're doing, and they got some guy who's playing lacrosse last year, and now everything makes a lot of sense. Now you're looking around, you're peaking at the right time, and it's like, hey, what, am I supposed to be scared of Jalen Green? What's going on in the West right now?
So their new look rotation since this trade is Curry and Podziemski. Again, the positions are very loose for the Warriors. So I put these guys here. Take that with a grain of salt. But they're ones, quote unquote, Curry and Podziemski. Twos, they're starting Moses Moody, Buddy Hield as a backup. Threes, we got Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and Gary Payton II. Fours, Jonathan Green, Draymond Green, Guy Santos, and a couple centers. They got Post and Looney. This is a very good team that makes a lot more sense with Jimmy Butler put in. And I know some people probably will look at the stat lines that Jimmy Butler is currently averaging and being like, whoa, he's shooting like career worst from like every spot on the court. He's not even doing that much, yada, yada, whoa. And they're right. And that gets into a lot of the nuances we're going to talk about today because they have not got even close to the best of Jimmy Butler scoring-wise. Yeah. But because of how he affects everybody else in this roster and really brings the team together, the impact is so much bigger than his individual shooting splits. It's made a gigantic difference. Yeah, I don't know. First of all, like I hadn't even really looked at his averages in Golden State in a while because the end result was so good that I was just like, I don't care right now as like what his shooting splits are because it just hadn't been bad the entire time. And then I checked for this video and I was like, holy shit, 20% from three, Jimmy Butler. You guys are 14-1. And so, yeah, it's, I don't know. When you think back to like the Miami years, obviously some of those Miami teams are pretty talented, but there was such a
default reaction to be like, how is Spoelstra getting this out of Gabe Vincent? How is Spoelstra getting this out of Max Strus? Those kinds of things. Caleb Martin. And part of it's definitely coaching. Spoelstra's an incredible coach, but part of it is also just Jimmy Butler, unironically one of the most intangible, impactful players in the NBA. Like every aspect of the game, if you are on the floor with Jimmy Butler, your life is probably going to be easier.
100%. He's one of the biggest differences, in opinion, will be between a box score watcher and someone who really closely watches every game of Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. He's one of the players that will have one of the biggest swings and perceptions between which type of fan you are.
Yeah. Holy shit. Especially in the regular season. Like his regular seasons are so mid for the past 3 or 4 years. And then you go to the postseason, it's regularly just a top 5 player on the planet in the playoffs. Yeah. And so I don't know if we're going to get the regular season this year, but yeah.
Even the mid in the regular season is mid scoring wise, but he's always done all the small stuff we're going to give credit to today. It's just people had kind of gotten over it a little bit because the team around him sucked and didn't have Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Kuminga and everybody. So now the mid version of Jimmy Butler that he coached in the regular season is a lot more impactful because of who's around him. And man, let's start with the offense. Let's get deep into that because that's the thing that has most of the headlines, that has been the biggest difference, right? Because early in the season when this team was really bad, they were still a top 10 defense for most of that stretch. They were just cataclysmically bullshit on offense. It was so bad. The narrative was they have absolutely zero help for Steph Curry to a degree that it's making him look washed. Because as a 37-year-old, he was asked to do so much that it would have been unheard of for him to be able to handle that much load. It was such a burden on him. I got these numbers pulled up of him before and after the trade. He went from 22.4 points to 29.1, 50% on twos to 60. A 6% true shooting percent rise. Overall, Steph Curry has been revitalized.
Yeah. And that's what when I was talking earlier about he had to dribble more than he ever I've ever seen. It's that's what was so jarring about this season is for years prior to this, everyone knew that hey, Steph Curry off the ball, probably the single biggest offensive advantage you can have in basketball, inarguably top 3. And so we come into this season, it's even with that advantage, nobody can do anything on offense besides Steph. Nobody can drive, nobody can shoot, nobody can make decisions, nobody can really rebound. It was just holy shit, if Steph's not making an advantage happen, directly giving somebody a layup, the Warriors are really going to have a tough time on that end of the floor. And since Jimmy Butler has shown up, it's not just that Steph has gotten better, Steph's job has gotten a lot easier. It's that every player that when you were coping with the Warriors prior and you were this guy could be that, or this guy could turn into something, all of those guys have slotted into place as well.
That's the best way. We're going to talk about that a lot on how Jimmy Butler slots everybody into their correct roles on this team. But yeah, and if we're going to start with Curry and talk about that, because this is the clearest thing, right? That the first, whatever, how many games it was, 50 games of the season, Curry was not performing production-wise at the level of a top 10 player. Yeah. And it led to some dramatic overreaction, right? He got picked to be an all-star starter, and people were like, yo, this is off a name. This is a clout pick. He's not performing better than Cade Cunningham and all this stuff. And one part of that was dramatic box score watching. He still had a lot of impact despite not scoring quite as much, right? But he has taken a step back to where he can't create that much with the ball in his hands, natural age progression.
Regular 37-year-old. We've been spoiled by a few other guys where it's correct. The 6'2" guy actually can't be LeBron when he's 40 years old. That's kind of shocking.
He looked human, and the discourse was the real conversation should have been how much of this is natural and it's just the reality of Steph Curry, and how much of this is because his role is just absolutely outlandish. Everything is harder. And I was of the opinion that he will fucking clearly look better in a better team scenario. You just can't ask him to be 2021 Steph anymore, averaging 30 with nobody around him. Who would have thunk it? That's the case. So much of their offense
ball,
is
dude. You're so fucking smart.
Everybody should have known this.
Guys,
Jimmy Butler make him better.
Isaac knows ball, dude. This is crazy.
But it was harder for him to get things off because of obvious reasons, right? Nobody around him can create. And Jimmy Butler is just, even if he's going to shoot 20% from 3 all year, 40% from mid-range all year, and be this bad of a scorer, which won't happen. He will bounce back. Even if that were to be the case, this Golden State offense can only work in the way it has for the last decade if you have just the adequate amount of threats around him.
Yes.
This year, early in the season, Steph tried to do his off-ball stuff you mentioned. They tried to run him off of these screens with Draymond Green, these two-man actions. And it was so easy for defense to send a third defender there to just have two of them on Steph and take the bet that when they make Steph pass the ball and don't let him get his threes off the screens, that the other guys around him won't have the on-ball juice to take advantage of attacking closeouts, won't have the shooting to beat you consistently, and just in general, you're going to end up with a shot you're willing to live with. And that happened every single time. With Jimmy Butler, you can't do that because eventually the ball is going to find him. And even if he can't shoot the open threes, he's constantly a threat to attack closeouts and drive. And that driving ability is exactly what the team needed to unlock Curry.
Yeah, I have a few just before and afters overall stats with Jimmy Butler. Before Jimmy Butler got here, they were 27th in free throw attempts at 20.5 per game. After Jimmy Butler got here, they have been 5th in free throw attempts at 24.9 per game. It's probably the most direct like eye test increase, I feel like, where not only are things easier in like general for the Warriors, but the fact that they're getting teams into foul trouble, it almost compounds making things easier. Where not only is your job, attacking closeouts, there's less defensive attention on you if you're a guy who doesn't have that on-ball juice that you're talking about. But since, there's 7 minutes left in the second quarter and your team's already in the bonus, you're getting even less aggressive defense from the guys who are closing out on you. So it's like when we're talking about Jimmy Butler not shooting the ball particularly well, him getting to the line as much as he does and being a playmaker that gets other people to the line, it just makes everybody's life a lot simpler in Golden State.
I'm glad you mentioned the playmaker gets other people to the line because I had the same thing pulled up. The team's free throw rate goes up 7.5% with Jimmy on the court. That's 99th percentile, one of the biggest swings in the NBA. And he himself is being fouled on 25.5% of his field goal attempts this year on the Warriors, which is absurd. 1 in every 4 shot attempts, he's going to go to the free throw line.
He's ethical when he does.
It's insane.
He's got like a crybaby loser like Shea or something.
Yeah, of course not.
That's disastrous. But when Jimmy does it, it's super cool and based.
Exactly. He's a real man. But I like your point that it's the free throw stuff compounds with Steph Curry being able to play like Steph Curry again. That's the exact way to frame it. This Golden State offense, famously works to a T. If you have Steph Curry, you have Draymond Green, and you have adequate ball handling and shooting around it. And they do that because it's a real like death by 1,000 cuts. We're going to keep you under pressure at all times by you having to fucking force for yourself to watch Steph Curry run around and keep an eye on him. Every single off-ball screen we hit is going to be a point of pressure that you have to... It's like there's a bunch of pipes, and every time Steph Curry gets a screen set for him or he sets one, a leak springs out. You gotta have a defender to go there and put their thumb on that leak. Put your thumb on that leak. Put your thumb on that leak. God. Eventually, you run out of fingers, and a bucket is had every time on the court.
All my plumbers know, dude. I mean,
exactly.
God, like if you played against Michael Jordan, it's just hard to have all of your fingers on all these pipes, dude. No,
but that's the Warriors' offense. Fingers need to go on pipes every time on the court. You got to have 3 available every single time. Early in the season, it was real easy to stop those leaks from happening. But add Jimmy Butler in, add one more guy that can drive off of these looks, one more guy that will get to the free throw line and cause that leak to burst every time down the court.
Yeah.
You can't control it again, and now you're back to the point where you really get the full effect of Steph Curry.
Yeah, I don't even like paranoia is kind of what I think about when I see Draymond and Jimmy and Steph on the floor all at the same time, is the fact that like you're paying attention to Steph because that's the problem. You're like, holy shit, Steph's going to hit a 40-foot 3 or whatever, and my life's going to be ruined. He's going to go for 40 points. And while you're paying to Steph, you have to always be in the back of your mind, hey, there's 2 guys who, if they have the basketball, they could probably find somebody wide open for a dunk or a layup.
Yeah.
Like they're 2
they
of the
will do
best,
something smart.
Yeah, like the best cutting passers in the NBA. So you're simultaneously facing away from the basket, trying to keep track of Steph Curry. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, hey, the second I make a mistake on defense, there's 2 incredibly smart hub passers that will they'll probably get 2 points if I make a mistake. And so another stat that I wrote down was before Jimmy Butler arrived, they were 25th in restricted area field goal attempts. And after he arrived, they are 15th. And so as far as makes go, they were 27th in makes, and now they've jumped to 12th. But 15th isn't crazy. 12th in makes isn't crazy. But to go from disastrous, to go from like bottom 5 in the league in those categories and then jump up to like, hey, we're really punishing you from the arc and we're extremely, average in the restricted area. It's just like a combination of factors that you have to like kind of pick your poison if you're the defense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's the main reason I like the trade and the idea of it all season when I was saying things they could do to fix themselves. For the past 3 years in which they've been not very good, the biggest issue is they don't get to the line. They don't have anybody that can apply rim pressure consistently. And it's just been a very, very, very jump shot dependent team offensively. And that it just hasn't been enough juice to be able to compete at the highest level.
Yeah. Maybe you could do that with Klay Thompson's on the team, but like...
And Kevin Durant.
Yeah. That's so funny to think about, like the front office being like, yeah, we're really cooking with gas. We've discovered a new dominant style of basketball. Just have two of the three best players on the planet shoot every time down the floor. Super cool, guys.
I know. But yeah, you mentioned a lot of smart things there about why Jimmy Butler has fixed those issues. The playmaking is also a big one. That's the biggest reason why we're talking about he affects things outside the box score. And one, it's just ball handling and effectiveness driving to the rim off of Steph Curry actions whenever he draws two and you're in 4-on-3 situations. Him being one of those four against those three, now you have two genius players that are going to make the right move, right? It's also how he enables the offense to keep a different dynamic when Steph Curry's on the bench. Yes. For years, they've gotten absolutely obliterated in non-Steph minutes, right? And as you would think, Jimmy Butler is manning the units without Steph Curry. And I like it a lot. It is a very good look. They're just playing Jimmy Butler basketball in those minutes when Steph's on the bench. And it's not as effective as Steph Curry offense, as you'd expect. But it's a lot more effective than offense with neither of them like they had before. Right now we have the Jimmy on,
it's better
Steph
than
Curry
Andrew
off
Wiggins offense. Damn.
Correct.
Shit.
So in those minutes, it's been quite so far. I said it's not amazing. It's been quite fucking amazing so far. But this might be unsustainably amazing. But so far, it's a
it
plus
just needs
17
to be
net
good.
rating.
We should say like it doesn't need to be amazing as long as it's like compared to where we were. If it's just okay, we're fucking golden.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, it's been nuking everybody. Plus 17 net rating, 122 offensive rating among the best in the NBA, 105 defensive rating among the best units in the NBA. They win the turnover battle by 2.5%. Their turnover percentage is lower than opponents' turnover percentage forced. They win the offensive rebound battle by 7%, which is massive. And they're 99th percentile in free throw rate, as you'd expect for everything we said.
Yeah.
Summary is they don't shoot quite as efficiently as the Steph Curry minutes, effective field goal percentage-wise, but they just destroy teams with second chance points, getting to the line more than you, clamping down on defense. And if you sense a pattern here, what I'm describing is the entire tenure of Jimmy Butler with the Miami Heat. That is how they won games. They are now doing that as well when Steph Curry's in the bench. How do you contend with that? Steph Curry goes to the bench and you have to guard the 2020 Miami Heat.
I don't know. I mean, lately people haven't been. They've just been losing. So I assume someone will come around at some point and they'll figure it out. But lately it's been like, how do we contend with this? And it's like, oh, we lost by 15. Shit. That's how we contended with it.
I know my favorite part of this is the Quentin Post minutes with Jimmy Butler, who's somebody I guess we got to mention in depth.
Yeah.
He's also really exploded during this time and become their starting center most nights. Do you realize that this Golden State Warriors team, for everything they've done over the years, they've never had a good stretch five? And now they just have one.
Andrew Bogut erasure. I can't believe this. No.
If that man could shoot threes like Quentin Post, oh my God, he never would have gotten benched.
Yeah. Bogut's such a classic idea of like a 2015 stretch big where it's like, yo, him at the elbow, he's automatic, dude. And it's like, that's not really what we're talking about anymore. But Quentin Post has me good. And like, I mean, it goes back to slotting everything down. Is Quentin Post was this guy that beforehand it was like, hey, can you make like smothered contested bailout threes when the defense is like closing out on you really hard? Can you attack closeouts if they're just automatically in front of you? The answer to those questions is not really, but can you just reliably hit open 3-pointers? Yeah, dude. Yeah, like when your job is made easier the way that Jimmy Butler has made it, he becomes a player that thrives in his role. Quentin Post does, and you could say that for a number of other guys on the roster as well.
They're plus 13.4 in net rating with lineups that include Quentin Post and Jimmy Butler on the court. And that is no coincidence. They look really good together. I love their dynamic of having this guy that's going to attack the rim every time and create shots, and then having a stretch five that opens up the paint for him. And their most used lineup of this duo is Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Quentin Post, which is their best bench lineup with Steph Curry not playing.
Yeah.
plus 21 net rating. They are beating the piss out of everybody with this core. And again, if Steph Curry's not going to be in the court and you're going to have this 5 to contend with 2 all-star level players and 3 good role players that fit, this is the story to me. They currently aren't playing necessarily better offensive rating swing with Jimmy on the court because so many minutes when he's on the bench have Steph Curry, who's also amazing. This is why their offense is so unstoppable right now. Lineups like this that don't need Curry and can still blast you in the face. This is everything.
Yeah, dude. Everybody's getting blasted in the face these days. Oh no. Fuck. What was I gonna say? Something about Steph going to the bench. It's just there's like pros and cons to the defense, which like we're gonna go into the defense later in the episode. I know, but just like when you talk about like the ebbs and flows, the advantages to every lineup that the Warriors are throwing out there, it's like, yeah, okay, we don't have this threat of, Steph Curry pulling up from 27 feet or whatever, but now we also don't have an exploitable-ish defender in the lineup. Now we're running 5 guys out who it's like, hey, we're above average on offense. We can really cook on offense, and it's a lot harder for you to score on us than it is for us to score on you. And so, yeah, it's yielded great results for them so far.
Mm-hmm. And we mentioned earlier at the top of this segment how it makes everybody slot into their perfect role. Mm-hmm. That has been, I said the biggest thing is these non-Steph minutes and being able to destroy people. Probably the bigger thing that contributes to Steph minutes and non-Steph minutes is now Moses Moody starts. That's been huge. He's been fucking fantastic. I think there was some hesitancy early in the season to start Moses Moody because I'm assuming this is why Steve Kerr didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Maybe the answer is he was just sleeping on the dude and it was a dumb decision, which could be the answer. I think he didn't want to start Moses for the most part because he wanted somebody that could have more creation out there, like a Brandon Pajemski, somebody who can maybe be the second ball handler next to Steph. Now you don't need that with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. You actually need somebody who can stand there and hit open shots. Yeah, Moses has been perfect for that. He's sliding into a perfect role playing off of Jimmy. Post is in a perfect role playing off of Jimmy. Mm-hmm. Kuminga just came back 2 nights ago. I expect he will
pretty
thrive.
Sick. He looked pretty sick, dude.
It did.
Yeah, and so Moses Moody, what's crazy is I was looking at this earlier. So on the season so far, the only Warriors who have more assists to Jimmy Butler or to Moses Moody so far than Jimmy Butler currently does is Steph Curry, Brandon Pajemski, and Draymond Green. There's only 3 guys on the roster who've given Moses Moody more assists on the year so far. And Draymond Green only has 1 more. And to be fair, these numbers are pretty low because of like the funky, like you're talking about, the hesitancy to really like throw Moses Moody out there full force. I think Draymond only has like 13 assists to him on the year, but Jimmy Butler already has 12. And so I feel like that's a testament to not just how good of a playmaker Butler is, but how Moody has embraced his role as like an outside shooter and a crazy defender as well. Like
we'll get to that.
It's so good. It's so good when you know a guy can play, but like just the team is desperate for something that he doesn't provide. And so the minutes kind of go away from him. Now the sun is shining on Moses Moody, and it's good because like now that he doesn't like fucking Steve Kerr isn't asking him to like tween hezzy shit and he can just do his job. He's a very good basketball player.
Exactly. And you know who else, speaking of that is the exact way I feel about Jonathan Kuminga. And again, it's only been 2 nights of him back on the team. We'll see how it progresses. In this game against the Kings that's on screen right now, the first sub of the game was to sub out Jimmy Butler and put in Jonathan Kuminga. So replace him. So the lineup out there was Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Kuminga, Draymond, Quentin Post. Mm-hmm. The big reason I didn't necessarily believe that Jonathan Kuminga was the answer before the season is because the Warriors needed him to be an on-ball creator. That was their only hope of getting that next to Steph Curry in the way that Jimmy Butler brought them. Their only hope was Jonathan Kuminga make a leap, become Jaylen Brown, be a guy who can create for himself and for others and give us the dynamic we need. That was really bad. That was not the role he needs to be in. His on-ball chops aren't there yet. And the spacing was really bad because they were starting Trace Jackson-Davis and Draymond Green. So the paint was pretty clogged for a slasher like Kuminga. Well, now you had Jimmy Butler, who removes that need for him to be a creator. He can focus on just being the downhill slashing demon he is. And in these lineups, you also have Quentin Post, who is the exact stretch 5 that I'm talking about they needed instead of Trace Jackson-Davis to give that paint the space needed for Kuminga to thrive. I can't exaggerate how much better this team is for Kuminga now than before. He was a horrible fit to start the year in terms of what the team needed for him. And now it is glove in hand with this new stretch five and this new point forward Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I would say nobody has benefited more from the shift in defensive matchups that's going to be happening than Jonathan Kuminga. Where you go watch the Kings game, and before the Jimmy trade, it would have been I don't know. Curry would have been seeing the best defender, and then Jonathan Kuminga is seeing whoever the second best defender is. So like Kuminga would have been seeing like Keegan Murray or maybe like DeMar DeRozan, I guess. Keon Ellis would have been out there a lot as well. But now Kuminga is seeing like the third or the fourth best defender, and regularly he is getting like physical matchups that he really dominates, where the team's best defenders are going to be like wings that they're trying to stop Steph and Jimmy Butler with. And as a result of that, Kuminga, all of a sudden, he's switched on to like athletic guards. He's getting post-ups or whatever, or he's trying to cut on Zach LaVine, and it's like, oh, this is food for me. Like a lot of these guys can't fucking guard me, and when you pair a guy like that who has spent the entire year with a job that he is underqualified for, but now he just really understands how to move without the ball, and you pair him with two guys in Draymond and Jimmy who can just find cutters and lob threats and understand where everyone is on the floor at all times. That's a pairing that I'm super excited for. His life is so much easier.
He is an Aaron Gordon-esque cutter. He is amazing in that role where he can just be a missile attacking the paint. Mm-hmm. He like legitimately has an outlier like top 10th percentile or 90th percentile in the league as a slasher. He is one of the best at that. He is not one of the best at creating those shots off the dribble, running pick and rolls and stuff like that.
Especially with the clogged paint. It's so funny to be like, this guy can't dribble. There are 6 people in the paint right now.
There's a seismic gulf between his capabilities as a niche role player with the role of slash versus him as the young player that needs to thrive and get more on-ball reps. Gigantic gulf between the effectiveness of those two roles. And I love that for him. I love that for him a lot. And, we mentioned Moses Moody gets better from this. We mentioned Kuminga. I'm sure Podziemski also has similar impact in getting better. We're not as much asked of him. Basically, this trade has made it so the guys that are the second timeline have so much more viability when they can be the supplementary players that they should have been forever and not the guys that need to take the mantle and be the next gen, Like, they don't need to step into stardom. They can be just a really good cast of role players.
Yeah. Bob Myers was like, this is what I was thinking about when I drafted these. I saw the writing on the wall. I knew Jimmy was coming. That's why I drafted all these guys, It wasn't 2 timelines. It was 1 timeline the whole time.
And it also helps that in this time, Gary Payton II has also looking like he looks like a second timeline guy because he looks young again. He's been playing incredible. In the last 12 games, he's averaging 10 points on 63% field goal percentage and 48% from 3 in 18 minutes. So he's been a demon.
It's the most sustainable basketball of all time. Baby.
For sure.
Guys, come back to this video in 4 weeks. That's the most sustainable. 48% from 3. Oh my God.
He'll continue. But honestly, it's obviously that's streaky shooting. But it's all I forgot what game it was. There was one possession where he was isolating at the top of the arc, doing between the legs dribbles and finish at the rim. I was like, who the fuck is that guy?
Jimmy Butler's got him acting different, baby. It's Gary Payton the first. Oh my God. Yeah.
Just everything is flowing and all ties are being raised. And maybe part of this, it's difficult to ascertain how much of it is Jimmy Butler and how much of it is natural, like positive play that happens in the second half of every season for the Warriors.
Yeah.
Some of it's probably that. Some of it probably isn't Jimmy, but just happens to correlate. Who cares?
Well, it's not like all the bad teams sometimes play good in February. Like a team that was going to win 30 games. Well, I guess the Nets kind of just did it. They did rattle off like 8 straight in February. But yeah, for the most part, like some of it is it's late in the season or whatever. But a lot of it is just like this team. This team was a couple tweaks away. It's not like they were full of terrible players and there was no way to salvage the roster.
Exactly. And, I don't even think we talked about it enough. We're talking a lot about how Jimmy Butler's making everybody better outside of their stars. It's a pretty fucking good fit with their stars, too.
Yes.
Like, the 2-man game we've seen from him and Jimmy Butler, him and Steph Curry, is so just beautiful to watch, honestly. Like, just the collective IQ and complementary skill sets. I wrote this down during the Kings game when I was rewatching it. The first 2 plays of the game. First play, Jimmy Butler has the ball at the top of the arc. He gets a down screen set by Steph Curry, who starts in Dunker's spot, comes up and sets a screen for Jimmy. He drives in, gets a shot blocked by Jonas Valanciunas. Tough. He gets his own offensive rebound, and as soon as he catches an offensive rebound, he has a deep paint touch. The Kings defense is scared. DeMar DeRozan comes in and double teams him because they don't want him to draw a foul or get a type of floater against Jonas. Mm-hmm. He gets a double team, immediately throws it to the corner. Draymond Green, wide open three, splash. Second play down the court, Moses Moody runs a pick and roll. They help off of Jimmy Butler, who's left wide open top of the arc. He can't shoot, so they're okay with that. The ball gets to him. He pump fakes, acts like he's in a drive, and they close out hard because despite the lack of spacing, you can't let Jimmy Butler have an open drive to the rim. Every single time he will get to that paint and it will be nasty. You have to close out. Immediately he drives, help comes, kicks it immediately to the corner, another open three. That's been the experience. They're getting him in positions that he's part of these actions, and every time he touches the ball, an open shooter finds himself with a high quality shot.
Yeah. First of all, that was like a radio play. That was super cool. I was imagining all of it happening. But the second thing I did write down, so before Jimmy Butler arrived, they were 15th in corner three-point attempts. They were 13th in corner three-point makes. Since Jimmy Butler has arrived, where do you think they're at in corner three-point attempts and makes?
I haven't looked at this. I don't know. Top 7?
They're first in attempts. They're third in makes. So
that makes total sense. Okay.
It's been one of their most dominant looks. And
that's a Jimmy Butler stat for sure.
Yeah,
that's definitely a Jimmy Butler stat.
And it's cool because if you go if you look, and I'm sure this matches with the eye test and everything, it's like a complete flip-flop where they were above the break 3-point attempt dominant before Jimmy Butler got here. They were like really bad at corner attempts and they were taking a ton of above the break threes. And since Jimmy Butler has arrived, it's complete inverse where they still take above the break threes. Don't get me wrong. Obviously Steph and everything, but like they're getting a lot more open corner threes. It's just a lot easier to generate a look that before Jimmy Butler got there, defenses were like, you can't have that. We're completely taking away the corner three. And so, I mean, that's a big part of why they've been able to dominate this way offensively.
And I think pretty much all of this is sustainable. I think they're going to be a top offense for the rest of the season into the playoffs now. Mm-hmm. So I guess let's transition this a little bit. Knowing what we know now, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, that's their 3 best players. That's a big 3 to me, whatever you want to call it. That's 3 star level players.
Yeah.
How many big 3s are there in the NBA that you're taking above the Warriors, guys? Like a pseudo ranking, like not even rank them, but just list them off. Which teams have a better top 3 to you that you trust more in the playoffs?
Okay. Let's talk about
playoff setting specifically. Who you trust in the playoffs?
Isaac wants to talk about teams with big 3s. I wonder who we could be looking to glaze first here. This is interesting. I suppose I'll take the Lakers' big 3 over the Warriors right now. We could start with that.
Fair enough.
It's one of the best in basketball. Even with one of them a little bit dinged up, I would say it's still a top 3 or it's still one of the top big 3s. But if healthy, LeBron and Luka, 2 of the best players on the planet. Austin Reeves, every time LeBron and Luka sit out, Austin Reeves looks like one of the best players on the planet too. Yeah. And so,
so that was not a question. I don't even want to glaze them over it. I understand. I get it. Place of power. I understand.
Yes.
They're one. Cavs, we'll take them. Whatever you want to do as their big 3. We'll go Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. I mean, not Jared Allen. Darius Garland. That clearly is up there. Are you going the Celtics? Who's their 3rd best player right now?
I mean, Porzingis is obviously their 3rd best player. For practicality reasons, I say Derek White. I don't really have faith in a playoff setting that I'm going to get like multiple rounds out of Porzingis. So,
okay, let's say Porzingis is healthy. We can go him 3. Are we still going that as a better big 3? That's actually a question to me. Like, it's not. Yeah. It's close. We can go towards the Celtics, but I think the Celtics being better is more about 4, 5, and 6 being incredible. I think big 3 for big 3, the Warriors are kind of close.
It's definitely close. I'll go the Celtics just because we have a bigger sample size of them, doing everything well. And I think you're getting like Draymond's individual offense. Like, I know the passing is so great, and he has been aggressive as a scorer when the Warriors have needed him to be. I'm sure we'll talk about that Knicks game at some point. But I think in a playoff setting, I'd still go Celtics.
Yeah, and to me, then we can go Thunder. Shea, J-Dub, Chet. That's fair. Yeah. With the level Shea's playing at, they're probably number 1 on this list.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where the list ends. At this point, I'm not going the Bucks over them with Kyle Kuzma 3rd option. I'm not going the Knicks with Mikal Bridges 3rd option. Not going the Rockets. God forbid, not going the Nuggets. I don't think I'm going the Grizzlies.
God forbid. What the fuck? God forbid. Jesus. I mean, good Lord. Like, what the hell?
I think the Warriors deserve this fifth spot. They make the top 5.
That's fine, but you don't have to be such an asshole about it. Jeez. God.
Sorry, Michael Porter Jr. Jimmy Butler is a different animal and the same beast.
Yeah, well, we're comparing Michael Porter Jr. to Draymond Green. But yeah, I think that's fair. I would need to see a more sustained, like, extreme high level of play out of both Jamal and Michael Porter Jr. To put them here. Because, like we said, this really hasn't even been the best version of Jimmy Butler. We know Jimmy Butler can be like an all-NBA level guy. And
exactly. We're going to get a better Jimmy Butler eventually, shooting-wise. And I just trust that in a playoff series, these 3 players are going to be probably the best trio in the NBA at lifting up role players and getting the most out of their supporting cast.
Okay, that's fair. All right. What do you want to talk about next?
Defense. Everybody's favorite side of the ball. The one that gets all the praise. The one that Adam Silver is marketing the game around. The one everybody cares about more than the other side.
That's why everybody likes Rudy Gobert, you know?
Exactly. That's why he's the GOAT, debatably.
Rudy Gobert, fuck you. No, I'm just kidding, man. Sorry, I know you're watching. That's. I know
whenever this trade went down, I don't think anybody doubted that Jimmy Butler would make them better offensively. I think one of the questions people had that wasn't necessarily for sure a downside, but a question needed to be answered was how much would they miss Andrew Wiggins on defense? A lot of Warriors fans talked about his point of attack defense is the buzzword that they're losing out on and aren't going to be able to one-for-one replace with Jimmy Butler, right? He's 35 years old. He's not going to be fighting over screens with the same tenacity as Andrew Wiggins. Not going to be given the same difficult tasks in a playoff series where they say, go out there and shut down Luka Doncic one-on-one if you can, right? Yeah. That was never going to be what you get from Jimmy Butler. But overall, I think we're seeing that the defensive impact of Jimmy Butler is, surprise, surprise, Jimmy's a more valuable defender than Andrew Wiggins after all. I think their defense has not missed a step. It is just as elite as it was before. And a lot of that, I think, is underrated strengths of Jimmy Butler that people didn't really account for in that discussion.
Yeah, I will say, so my big apprehension, like when I talked about like I need to see some games from this, is I really underestimated how angry Jimmy Butler would be when he got to Golden State, like how motivated he had become over the past few months with the whole Pat Riley saga. And so in my mind, I was transplanting like December Miami Jimmy Butler over to the Warriors, and I was like, that's just like some night to night stuff that I like Wiggins a lot, but engage Jimmy Butler, I would probably like a separate tier of defender, because on the ball, like maybe the screen navigation or like a few different youth/athleticism aspects that Andrew Wiggins is better at. Yeah, well, I'll give those to Wiggins, but on the ball, he's still incredible, Jimmy Butler, and off the ball, he is a menace. Like it's him and Draymond, they overlap so much in their ability to just be like, I need to be here, you need to be there. This is where they're going to try to pass the ball, and I'm not going to let it happen.
Yeah. So right now I have on the screen the stats. Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green sharing the court has been the difference. Whatever you lose in individual defense abilities on ball from Andrew Wiggins, you make up for by the fact that Jimmy and Draymond's skill sets are just so exponentially better together. Yeah. This is going to be an incredible tool in a playoff setting to just diagnose opposing offenses and deal with them. They force a turnover on 18.6% of possessions on the court together. 98th percentile.
Yes.
That's a fucking massive number, clearly. They only allow a 15% free throw rate. They have a 27% when they're on the court, so they're winning that free throw battle by a gigantic margin. They force turnovers without fouling because they're smart, disciplined defenders, and the team follows suit. Opponents only shoot 23% of their field goals at the rim, 99th percentile. You're not getting to the rim against this duo with these two guys posted up on both corners, being able to freelance, help at the nail off of their guys. They are shutting that shit down. And teams only shoot 61% at the rim when they actually do get there.
Yeah.
Everything about them has been clamps. Draymond Green has made a career off of not playing center, playing power forward, defending a guy in the corner, and being able to have the autonomy to freelance, like I said, make plays, kind of break away from the scheme that all the role players have to follow, and be able to, he's allowed to use his IQ freely and know where to be when,
he's
and how to get back
safety.
in time and
yeah,
plays.
Like
correct.
His
now they got two Ed Reeds. Two Ed Reeds are out there every single play.
yeah. Like, fuck. There's, I don't like. Have you seen that TikTok where it's like some Asian lady watching American football and they're like, "Who's your favorite player?" And she's like, Cam Chancellor, and then it cuts to a Cam Chancellor edit. That's how I feel.
I love the impersonation.
Well, I didn't want to do like a full Asian accent.
Just a little bit. You should have just sprinkle a little Asian twang in there.
Fun, guys. Come on.
Just a little.
As a treat.
Everyone should be allowed to do one minor Asian accent.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I should just.
I have seen that though.
No, yeah. But so like Draymond's value leaps out as like fixing others' mistakes. That's always been his massive ad on the defensive end, is rather than like him sticking to the plan, is him taking a step back, watching everybody else execute the plan, and then he sees like 3 steps ahead of time when someone has made a mistake, and he knows how to make up for that. And I think obviously Jimmy and Draymond, incredible defensive pairing. This makes me very hopeful for Kuminga as a defender as well. Mm-hmm. Like I do feel when the Warriors traded for Andrew Wiggins originally, and Draymond was really able to turn him from a destructive defender in Minnesota into a very high level defender in Golden State, because he's an incredible like coach on the floor type guy, always making sure Andrew Wiggins understood his job, his role, where he needed to be. And Kuminga is in a very similar spot, like prior to the Jimmy Butler arrival, where incredible athlete, like really toolsy guy, but never really put it all together on the defensive end of the floor. I think him sharing the floor with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, and sharing like the practice room with them as well. I really hope like it all works out for Kuminga, because if he can become a high level defender in addition to those two, it's going to be so hard to score on them. Harder than it already is. Yeah.
Yeah, his biggest issues are off ball. So yeah, if he can learn from these two guys and really like develop that IQ there, and even if he doesn't, it's so much easier to deal with a defender like that maybe has some off ball lapses in their switching scheme, when you have these two guys to help cover you up, and then that guy who sucks off ball is also athletic and can close out and try to recover whenever they help him out in that way. So I also have faith there. And the point of attack concerns aren't made up. I've seen a lot of Warriors fans like make fun of the people who had those POA concerns by being like, that's a made up, that term doesn't matter, it's made up. In modern, the big talking point is, modern NBA, you don't defend guys one-on-one anyways, so that shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ask a Denver Nuggets fan if point of attack defense matters. How about you do that? How about you ask them if KCP matters? It matters a lot.
It like that. I was going to say this is the most Draymond Green is on my team take of all time.
Yeah, correct.
Point of it. It's like It's like if a Denver Nuggets fan was like, well, who you have on offense actually doesn't really matter. And it's like, yeah.
Put him in a dunker spot.
I'm sure that's how you feel if you watch 70 Nuggets games a year. But if you look around the rest of the league, you actually do have to have spacing next to like a Bam Adebayo level player or something.
Correct.
And so yeah, point of attack defense, it's not fake, but when you have the amount of talent on that end of the floor that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler provide, you can scheme around not having the strongest point of attack defender in the world, which they still, I mean, Moses Moody. Do you want to talk about Moses Moody?
That's what I'm going to say. Yes. It matters a lot. You need guys. When we say point of attack, you need good screen navigators is what it boils down to in the most simple regards. And it's not you need one point of attack defender. This isn't the 90s. You're not going to say, hey, Michael Cooper, go guard their best player, go shut down Julius Erving. That's not how the game's played anymore. In that regard, they're right. You need 3 guys who can navigate screens at all times. You can't have weak defenders out there that are going to make life for the bigs too hard. And Andrew Wiggins was good at that, right? So you're thinning your room out in that way. I think they still have 2 really good screen navigator plus drop big pairings that they've deployed in really smart ways that have made it salvageable when you have those 2 geniuses to freelance on the wings. To me, that's Moses Moody and Post in the starting lineup. Post is a very, very competent drop big. He is big. He's good at stealing off the roll man and not allowing easy lobs there. And Moses Moody has been goddamn incredible at blowing up screens and making it really hard to put Post in a 2-on-1 situation. They have an 88.9 half-court defensive rating when those 2 players are on the court. Then on the bench, they have Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II, who are also both similarly skilled in those regards. 97.8 half-court defensive rating with those 2 on the court. As long as these 4 guys are healthy, the point of attack defense will not be an issue. They can start with these 2 perimeter defenders on the main ball handlers, and then guys like Steph Curry, guys like Jimmy Butler, guys like Draymond Green are skilled enough at screen navigation that when they get into their switching scenarios, you're not going to be able to pick on somebody weak.
Yeah. It must be nice. Must be nice to have a point of.
I know, right?
defense.
Just embarrassment of defensive riches. It's crazy.
It must be nice. I'm out here at the weed up. I don't want to make it a Nuggets pod, but the fact that they fucking let Justin Holiday walk for nothing. We don't have anybody who can guard on the perimeter anymore.
You are so down bad. You just said Justin Holiday is your savior.
Justin Holiday,
you're screwed.
You're
so down bad.
He's performing for the cameras right now. Anyone who knows ball knows Justin Holiday should have an NBA contract right now.
He's a fine player.
He should have. He doesn't have a contract at all. The Nuggets are fucking rolling. Whatever, man. Whatever.
I understand. Not to disparage Justin Holiday perimeter defense, but that's the guy. You're like, we had him, we'd survive. Brother,
we probably don't survive, but it's just representative of the shit that I'm working with right now. Okay.
Yeah.
No one cares. It's not titled Denver Nuggets video. It's titled Golden State video. The Golden State Warriors defense is really good because of this pairing of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. Two incredibly high-level defenders. Also two irritants, let's call it agitators on the defensive end of the floor. I think Golden State, they've benefited massively from having two of the biggest assholes in the NBA.
Two gaping holes on the defense at all times.
Yeah, the good kind of holes, I guess. So because hole to the rim would be bad, but asshole on defense is good. So I think I would like to build an all-NBA first team asshole lineup. How does that sound to you?
That sounds lovely. I don't know the names you have here, so I'm very curious who we're going to put on this list. And when you say asshole, you're talking on the court, or are we getting personalities into the mix here and like locker room issues and stuff?
We can do both. We can do both.
Are we using assholes as a pejorative, or to say like, that's a real asshole, you don't want to play against him, he's going to give you problems?
I do want to do both because like these apply both directions. So I think at power forward, easiest draft pick of my life. This is the Victor Wembanyama of this draft. We could go Draymond Green at power forward.
Motherfucking Green. I think Draymond Green is revolutionizing the games for assholes in the same way Steph Curry did for shooters. Every kid growing up these days that has a little asshole in them is going to model the game after Draymond and want to be just like him.
What a fucking nightmare. If that was my
he's destroying the youth.
If my kid was like, I'm Draymond Green, I'd be like, bro, you're not playing basketball anymore. We're
sending you to military camp.
You can do ballet. I don't care. It doesn't need to be a traditionally masculine thing. I'm just not letting you be Draymond Green, dude. Green at the power
he's a power forward.
Like, this is why I said we could do both. We could do the locker room and we could do off the court because
shout out Karl-Anthony Towns.
Shout out Karl-Anthony Towns. Firmly outplayed Draymond Green, by the way. Had a sick-ass game against the Warriors, but Draymond Green got the layup at the end. And this really hammered home the asshole thing is, I won't say Draymond got carried, but like shows up at the right time to then hit the night-night celebration after being a dick to him in public. He's got to be the number one pick here. At small forward.
Are we going to throw Jimmy Butler on there?
Yeah, let's do it. We're talking about this. I'd say this one is much more firmly on the court.
Yeah.
Maybe if you
Disgusting brothers, they got to both be on here.
If you ask Pat Riley, maybe he'd have some shit to say off the court. But for the most part,
I'm not sure Jimmy Butler is the off the court asshole in that exchange, but we'll leave it there.
Hey, well, we side with the workers all the time. It's just what I default to. I'm not worried about what the fuck Pat Riley's got going on.
Shout out to proletariat Jimmy Butler.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, working class hero Jimmy Butler, baby. No, on the court, I just feel like we have a long established history in Miami where it's like, hey, whoever wants to step to him. 56 points on Drew Holiday's head. Every point he had from like 30 forward in that game, he was like, hey, you can't guard me. You're kind of like a little baby who I put in the basket every time, pal. So yeah, he's one of the best shit talkers, but like a more likable asshole than Draymond. I got to put him here though, at small forward.
Okay. Are we going to go legacy pick and put Dylan Brooks at shooting guard?
Oh, we are.
Reputation's been earned for years, so that's fine.
Yeah. I don't care that he's rehabbing in Houston, just playing like quiet, good basketball.
Oh, wait. Never mind. Anthony Edwards has to be the shooting guard.
That's fair. Yeah. If we're doing off-court stuff. Yeah.
Doesn't got to be said. Anthony Edwards is shooting guard. Who's the point guard?
Send the pic. That's all I'll say.
Send a video. What do you mean?
That's so crazy. That's so insane, dude.
I love him.
Yes, dude. Hey, that's interesting, I'll leave it at that. Do you want to go point guard or do you want to go center next?
Dealer's choice.
I'm having trouble thinking of a point guard right now.
I mean, Pat Bev's not in the league anymore, so that's a hard one. Can't put him there.
I literally wrote him down as like a emergency kind of pick, where like if he comes back into the league, I get his bird rights. Like I want him on this team if he gets picked up again. But at center, let's go Gobert. I do feel like maybe some of it's been, suppressed because Draymond Green choked him. And so people are like, well, if Draymond Green doesn't like you, you have to be a good guy. And that's not necessarily the case. I will go Gobert at center here.
Is there an argument for Steph Curry at point guard so that the assholeness is different, but whenever they're up and the way he can taunt people, the way he can like rub it in your face that he's cooking you can be he's an underrated asshole in that regard.
Yes. Dude, we could do, yeah, let's put him here. The way you just described, that's like the layman's view of Tyrese Halliburton, I feel like, is the whole front runner gimmick from last year where he would be skipping around. But Steph, it's a lot longer, and he's twisted the knife a lot more.
It's overrated. Correct. He twists the knife. I don't think Tyrese is that much of a front runner. I think people kind of gas that. Steph Curry knows exactly what to do to get under your skin, and he does it in a way that keeps a nice guy facade on, but he knows how to rub some shit in your face.
Go ask France. Who'd they put here, I have a pretty good idea who it'd be.
Yeah. And I love him for it. It's part of the Steph Curry allure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. All first team asshole starting five. I'd say it's pretty.
I like that. That's honestly perfect. Steph, Anthony Edwards, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert.
Shout out to Ant. Like snubbing Dylan Brooks it's one of the most insane basketball feats of the last 5 years. Is him somehow managing to out asshole Dylan Brooks.
He's moving mountains, man. He's breaking records every day.
I guess, dude. What a psycho.
All right, man. So now we have a full understanding of how Jimmy Butler has made their offense better, their defense better, macro sense, micro sense, all that. We now have an understanding of their assholeness levels as a collective roster.
Okay.
I guess the question now that everyone's having is, can they do this in the playoffs? Do you see this translating in playoff series against certain teams? Is this real, or is this a cupcake schedule and you're bound to get honeymoon phase, but they'll still have the same issues against top tier talent? How much faith do you have now compared to earlier in the season?
Or I should say,
compared to when they first... My bad. Compared to when they first made the trade.
I still have a lot more faith than when they first made the trade. I was, like we've said, I needed to see some games. I feel like I've seen the games necessary to make some decisions. It'll still be tough with some of these matchups, but I know how I feel about a lot of the teams in the West right now.
Okay, then let's do it this way. We'll have this conversation via them compared to top seeds out West. Because it seems like they're going to be in the bottom half of the bracket, right? They can get as high as 5. I don't know if I see them breaking the top 4 unless they don't lose another game and we get some other fall-offs. So I'm going to name 2 teams. One's the Warriors. One is a team currently in the top 4 seeds. You let me know who you would pick in the series and why.
Okay.
So, dude, this is going to be a fun playoff series. A fun playoff year with them and the Timberwolves in the bottom half of the bracket. Maybe the Lakers. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, okay. Fun for some people, fun.
Yeah, fun for me. Not
fun for some. Fun for some. I mean, fun's all subjective, so it's whatever.
Warriors or Rockets? I have never seen a more guaranteed upset. If this is the 6-3 matchup, Rockets fans, I'm sorry, you had a good year. You got to leap for some important players. Better luck next season.
They put Draymond on Sabonis again. That's so unfair. It's the same thing. It's the same matchup with him and Şengün. Yeah. It's just a Rockets team that has been young and been scrappy, and regardless, I feel like they should be proud of their season and happy with the direction they're heading in. But the Warriors I believe in so much more on really both ends of the ball. Even though Houston is such a good defense, I feel like Steph can score on them. And I don't feel like anybody on Houston can consistently do it
If this series happened, there would be a game where the Rockets score less than 80 points, I think.
That's possible. There'd be a game like... I don't know about like whatever the scores end up being, but there would be like a 35-point blowout. I do feel it to that degree where it would just be like super hot shooting for Golden State, and Houston can barely hang with like normal shooting games from some teams.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Again, and I usually don't like to talk so definitively because it can come back to bite us. Don't give a fuck. I don't need to hedge my bets. I think the Warriors would dominate the Rockets.
Hey, if Houston wins, I won't care because it'll be good basketball. I'll be really entertained with an insane upset, but it would just go against everything like I understand about the sport.
Yeah, it would be baffling. And there's a shout out to the Rockets. Your time will come. I don't think it's this year if this matchup happens. The Warriors or the Grizzlies? A little bit harder.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll still go the Warriors here just because of like the top end talent disparity, where the Warriors would have certainly the best player in the series in Steph Curry. And they could easily have the two best players in the series if Jimmy Butler rises to the level that we've seen him hit previously. With the kind of up and down season that Ja Morant has had, even though he's come on strong recently, I don't have like complete faith we're getting an all-time playoff run out of him this year. And then I also think Draymond is a pretty tough matchup for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I think you would need... Listen, if there's ever a series that a rookie has to get forged by fire, it would be Zach Edey versus the Warriors. That would be incredibly hard for him to keep up with as a rookie. You would have to play Draymond at center.
Guarding Steph.
Yeah.
Like that would be incredibly hard too.
You have to put Draymond, you have to put Jaren at center. And if that's going to be the case and they're not going to have a physicality advantage up front, I find it hard to believe they're going to win a finesse battle with the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. If you're like running a lineup where the Warriors are like breaking even on the boards, which I think would happen if Jaren's at center, it's probably not good for you.
Yeah. So another one, everything the Golden State Warriors get the upset. But this one will be close. This one I'm not going to be as disrespectful. The Grizzlies could win. I wouldn't expect it. And it would be close, I think. Like 6 games. Hard fought 6, though.
Yeah.
The Warriors or the Nuggets?
The Nuggets. Going Nuggets,
Are you certain?
Baby.
Are you sure?
I've never been more sure. Never been more sure. No, I mean I'm nervous. Like this. I think
the roster, the level of play this team has right now is a lot closer to when they lost in 2022 than when they won in 2023.
I think. Do they have like a healthy Aaron Gordon for this series?
Sure.
Okay, I would pick the Nuggets then. I do feel like that adds... I feel like that's like a very important layer to the Nuggets being a good versus a mid team this season is the existence of Aaron Gordon out there. But at the same time, this would be like really close. Like if this went 7 games into overtime in game 7, that would not surprise me. I feel like
you would need a masterclass. You would need a Jokic masterclass offensively. Because I think this is the series where his defense is going to be a real problem. Without KCP there to fight over those screens, I think Steph would have a field day with 20-25 Jokic drop. It has not been pretty.
Yeah. I'll still go with my guys. I don't care.
Okay, well, we'll give the Nuggets the edge because this is a biased podcast. But I don't feel good about it.
You could be objective. I don't give a shit. I'm not in charge. You're a grown man. Do whatever you want.
Listen, I'll roll with the punches. I go where you go. We'll move as a unit.
Whatever. He's a sheep, people. He's
not
a free thinker. Okay.
Oh, so now I'm a sheep. I can't just be loyal. I gotta fucking be a sheep.
Yeah, exactly.
Last time I tried to be a good friend. Fuck that shit. The Nuggets suck. They're terrible. Shit beneath my shoe.
Oh my God. All right, who's next?
Last but not least, the Warriors versus the Thunder.
The Thunder.
This is where it ends. I think the Warriors could beat every single one of the top 4 seeds right now besides the Thunder. I feel very confident the Thunder would walk in those doors and feel good about it.
Yeah. And I would say if you're the Thunder, this is a series where you're like super, super happy you got the Hartenstein pickup. Where last year, even if everything like you'd gotten all of the developments you've gotten this year out of everybody, you still probably walk into the Warriors matchup here with Butler and you're like, they could bring like a physicality aspect that might give us a little bit of trouble. But with Hartenstein on the floor to just like, hey, Draymond throws an elbow, I'm throwing an elbow. We're going like dirty play for dirty play or aggressive play for aggressive play, whatever you want to call it. It's just the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder have been a different tier of team than the entire Western Conference the whole year.
The Warriors right now, Jimmy Butler and Steph are bullying everybody. The free throw rate, the free throw drawing, the offensive rebounding, the creating shots for others has been too much to handle. The Thunder defenders can handle that shit. They can handle it well. You're not going to out turnover battle the Thunder.
Yeah, it's difficult. So yeah, I'll go to the Thunder, but that's no shame on the Warriors. And I think if you're comparing this to what we would have said in like December or November, yeah, you should be a lot happier with where you're at.
Yeah. And again, I think the Thunder win. If you tell me there's a world in which the Warriors unlocks in 2022 Magic and find a way to upset the Thunder, I wouldn't think it's impossible. I'd be fucking surprised and I'd be mad because I've put a lot of my credibility on the Thunder's success this season. But it's in the realm of possibilities. Whereas it would be less than 0% chance before the Jimmy Butler trade.
Yeah, it would need to be like just disastrous shooting season from like 4 guys on the Thunder.
you would need Jalen Williams to prove that he's like an all-time playoff dropper. He's a punk. He can't handle anything in the playoffs. And you would need Draymond to just beat the shit out of Chet, and he can't live up to the moment. He's too skinny. Like, you would need disaster classes from those 2 guys.
Yeah, and even then, you would still probably need like Lou Dort to go like 34% and like some other stuff to swing your way.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe to just forget how to shoot, which is like his one thing.
And maybe
get
Steph
stomped on his chest.
Maybe Steph will forget next how to shoot. You know, if Isaiah Joe's doing it, anything's possible.
Yeah, we have to conjure quite the picture to consider picking the Warriors.
Yeah,
but okay, man. Moral of the story: the Warriors are kind of back, and shout out them. You know, I didn't hesitate to write them off early in the season whenever they were garbage. So I won't hesitate now to say that this is like not vintage Warriors. It's not KD era, but this team has just as good of a chance as 2022 did. Nobody expected 2022 to win the championship when it happened. They kind of picked everybody. They came in by surprise to some regard when the playoffs started. They were playing well, but they were not the favorites by any means. If you told me something happened this year in similar regard, I guess it's not that surprising.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have Steph Curry, who has continually been one of the best players on the planet. And you have Jimmy Butler, who gets incredibly good in the postseason, has been incredibly good. You have a lot of good role players. You have Draymond Green. Nothing's impossible. And so, yeah, Warriors fans, I know it was a tough 30 minutes where you were mid there. So
I know, right?
it's good. Like, it's just, I know, like, it's been so long that this is really important for the Warriors to be back up to this level.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan, you should feel good. And maybe you're scared to feel good because you felt so bad the past few years. But something tells me you're not. Something tells you Warriors fans have all the hubris in the world and they're feeling great right now. And I think you deserve it for the time being.
Yeah. Well, let's think. Warriors fans were 11 when Kevin Durant went there. And so if we're doing some math here, they're probably like 17 at this point. Geez, you guys are getting old. That's kind of scary. So, yeah, you have a little more critical thinking now. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for sticking through the tough times there. That was really brave.
If people are still here, what should they comment?
Two big holes, something like that. I don't know.
Whew. All right. Okay.
You don't like 2 big holes? Hey, you threw the lob. What do you want me to say, dude?
We'll see y'all on Thursday for the next episode.
Bye.